Welcome to the Level Design Podcast. In this special retrospective episode, we talk about what we liked most during what we could say is the most interesting year that we've had. Why not come and join us? Let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to this very special retrospective episode of the Level Design Podcast. It has been a bit of a year, as everyone has noticed, and we wanted to have a look back at the great things that have actually happened in this year and talk about our favorite episodes, our favorite games, the favorite things that we learned, and what we're looking forward to in the next glorious year. That please go away 2020. Hello 2021, you're so welcome. And to join me is a motley crew of hosts that you might have heard before, including the wonderful designer from the Chinese room, Rob McLaughlin. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Mark.
How has this year treated you?
Well, it's been a strange year, hasn't it? I'm really interested to hear what everyone else has to say about what they really loved in 2020 and possibly what they hated.
You've been busy though. Every time that we've actually filmed, I say filmed because we're on Zoom, but it feels like you're fresh out from work. Like you've been, and I think everyone's been doing this, working a little bit harder because I presume you were in studio before everything, right? You weren't working from home.
That's right. Yeah. We were working in the old Chinese room offices just off Preston Park in Brighton every day. And you'd get home from work and you'd stop work almost. Well,
right.
Sounds strange now to think that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'd get home and stop work. Whereas nowadays it stretches and stretches on sometimes into the evening. And when we record the podcast, it's usually about 7 p.m. There's always that. It's very strange to end work at about 6:30 sometimes and go straight into the podcast.
Yeah.
It's been great at times working from home and being with the family. And I'm lucky that my home working setup means that I can walk out of a door and back into the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a separate space for it. But at the same time, I really miss that clean break that you used to get between home space and workspace.
Yeah, I've been doing remote working from home or from an office for about 10 years. And the only advice I think I can give, and I think we've talked about this, is that when you finish work, go out for a walk. Before, if you finish working, go and do something that's not, falling from your chair into the sofa that's next to it. I'm not judging how your house is laid out, but just go out for a walk and you do a commute back home,
Yeah,
around the block.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I think physical exercise has saved me during lockdown. I think I've by Strava calculations, I've cycled 1,500 miles this year. That's not counting my new virtual cycling that I've been doing on a trainer inside a room as well.
It's a Peloton thing, is it?
It's a Zwift thing, so it's a captive trainer which I can ride a video game bike around a strange world. But yeah, that getting out and being out in the world is the thing that has made it bearable, the bad times bearable. Yeah.
And also joining us on the episode, all the way from the same place of Brighton, but working for Hangar 13, is Jonathan. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, not too bad. It's been, I think you and Rob's already touched on it. It's been a very interesting year, to say the least, I think, for all of us.
But you released a game during this. God.
Yeah. Good, Jonathan.
Jesus. Yeah. Woo.
Yes, that was definitely a very different dynamic, I think. I think for anyone, this goes for any game that actually shipped this year and even finished production this year, I think, during a pandemic, is we all had to pivot and adapt and finish stuff in so many different ways. And for a lot of us, I think, for some of the teams, the games you've seen come out this year, they went into lockdown during the most important point of development, right? When you're trying to finalize and finish everything is when you want the game to kind of come together, or when the game will usually come together. And we spoke about it in past episodes. But if you take a look at the big releases you saw come out this year, most of them went through that process from home with distributed teams, so they couldn't get in a room together and thrash out and agonize over those minor details that you normally would. It all had to be done remotely through Zoom.
And it's a different dynamic, right? It's a completely different dynamic doing those conversations over Zoom. I mean, at work, we've been talking a lot about it, about how we talk to each other and how we behave with each other. But because we've all been 100% remote, but we now have new people coming in.
Yeah,
This is kind of like new for them, and they're used to like sitting in rooms and thrashing it out, doing whiteboards, which, you know, no one does now, but you know.
it's kind of like what Rob mentioned. It's like I miss that team dynamic thing, but I think for a lot of people, some people thrive on the social dynamics of a team. And the stuff you're on about, like thrashing out of a whiteboard, I started doing that with my lead quite a lot in some instances where we just jump on Zoom and we just scribble over screens or scribble on like virtual whiteboards. It's not the same, but it like still helped you problem solve in an effective way. And at least you didn't feel like you were completely alone all the time when you're trying to think of a problem. I did buy whiteboards as well, just so I could scribble on stuff.
Have you used them? That's a real question.
Yeah, I used them when we were finishing Mafia, when I was fixing bugs, to do like visual scripting, problem solving. I had to visualize it before I could finish it.
Awesome. And also joining us from Command Studio is our very own Valentina Crisostomo.
Hi, everybody.
If people don't know, Valentina and I work together, so this is about the 50th time we've seen each other just since Monday, or we've had a conversation, but
in the last 5 minutes.
But yeah, this has been an interesting year for you. I mean, you've kind of gone from AAA to single I guess.
I sort of had to leave AAA at one point. I think it was actually during lockdown that it happened, so it was kind of a strange thing because I was in between jobs and lockdown was happening and I wasn't sure what was happening. But then I got to work with you and everything's fine. This year is totally fine. But it has been strange, but I think I'm very grateful for all the opportunities and the fact that I'm able to work from home and I don't have to, be outside with customers and interact with people and have that risk of, or that fear of, having COVID around me. I'm very happy that I'm home, and no matter if I don't see people and as often, and there are no social events, and that part of life is difficult, but at least working from home hasn't been difficult, and it's been kind of fun.
Yeah, there's been quite a few things. Aside from work, there has been a lot of interesting things. Like there's been good games. There've been like really good games released this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But also, like, it has given me a chance to learn a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is like trying to split my time between different things, because you can't just dedicate your whole life to work. Can you? You shouldn't. But I've been trying to do a bit of personal development as well, and working with you has been awesome. It's been a real eye-opener.
Thank you very much.
And I mean that in a positive way, not like, oh my God, what's going on? But it's in like, oh wow, so that's how you do the magic. It has been really good.
Yeah, it's been great actually. That's why I mentioned, like, work-wise, I feel very lucky, and obviously working in a studio is very different, and then like everybody else, you have to work from home. But for me, I'm sort of an introvert, and my social life comes from meeting people outside of work, and that's what I miss. I miss events, I miss meeting friends, but I can work from home. I enjoy it. I can scribble on virtual whiteboards, or I can talk to Discord or Slack. That doesn't change how I work, but that also is also because I think it depends on your job, right? If you're an artist, or if you're a designer, if you're a lead designer, like, everything is different. If you're a person who requires meetings all the time, that might be a bit more difficult. You might be on Zoom all the time. But I think for me, it's been I'll just say I was quite lucky, I think.
You know, this podcast, and especially this year, would not have been really possible without having our awesome producer there in the background doing all the, quite frankly, horrible jobs of trying to herd this bunch of cats that are the presenters. So Ash Rose has joined us in this special edition. Welcome on board, Ash.
This is a very strange experience for me, but a good one.
Yeah, being on the other side of the fourth wall. or microphone, so to speak. For those at home don't know, this episode sounds great because of Matt Lever's editing and Ash's ability to get us and get it all ready and done and talking to you and telling us what's happening. We know nothing. We literally know nothing. And it's only Ash that lets us know.
Please stop
what's
hyping me up
happening.
because my anxiety is like spiking right now.
But, you know,
This is the
aside from
longest
that,
intro
she's
you've
all right.
given. Why?
It's all right.
Oh.
Welcome to the episode. To keep us in line live. Now you can tell us off and say, don't do that because it makes the editor crazy.
You say that, but I was the one who suggested that you all drink because it's our final
Yeah.
episode of the year. So yeah,
It's all your
it's all
fault.
my
Yeah,
fault.
so-
If things go wrong, it's my fault.
You can take the bullet for that one,
Yeah.
and then we can pretend everything else is fine.
Yeah, if anything
So
goes wrong.
a big cheers to the whole team. It's the end of year episode. We've done 21 episodes this year. Cheers, everyone. We've had loads of new followers. Like we're like over 2,000. We've had I don't know. There's lots of statistics that you can go through, but it's been a real growth year for us, and there's been some amazing episodes. So we just wanted to like have a little moment to think about back to some of the episodes. I mean, for one, I'm really impressed that I managed to interview nearly all of the hosts that are sitting around here and a proper interview with the people that have joined me, because in a weird way we started out with this panel and I didn't interview you. I said, hey, here's Guy from Chinese Room, here's Guy from rah, 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 rah. But we've actually been able to talk in depth about your experiences in level design. And apart from that, I managed to like interview one of them and then be able to hire them into my company. So it's been like pretty grand. It's pretty good. So it's been
Not just the company. Now I am part of the Level Design podcast.
right,
so
I'm
it's
part of the
another thing.
podcast and that. So that's been really good.
Win-win.
Yeah, exactly. We also did like so many episodes, 21 episodes. We've kept so busy and we managed to interview. I mean, if in 2019 you told me many things about 2020, I don't think anyone would have believed them. But being able to say that we talked to Max Pears from CD Projekt Red, that we talked to Michael Barkley from Naughty Dog, and Constantino Dimopoulos, as well as so many other people, I would have not believed you, right? I would like, we're doing okay, but the people that we've managed to interview and have great episodes with this year, I wouldn't have believed you about the Murder Hornets, but I wouldn't believe you about the guests coming on. Yeah. Well, I've been. I'm going to pick on Jonathan. What's been one of your good episodes to be part of this year?
So it might be because it's just fresh in my mind because I've just listened to it, but the Chris Totten episode where we were talking about the architectural book. Granted, the thing that sticks out to the most is not talking about necessarily the book and the architecture. It was more the analogies. We talked a lot about food that episode, putting stuff in the blender, mixing everything together, which in essence is, I think anyone can kind of attest to this, the start of any game design thing. It's throwing as much stuff together, see what works, then start culling. But it's just like a lot of that kind of stuck out. And it was interesting for me as well to actually talk to him about his book. I have a growing fascination with architecture. To see someone go from focusing on architecture to focus into games was always quite interesting. And he's not the only person I've spoke to this year about making that switch, but it's the mindsets are always similar. And I always just find them fascinating to see, especially now, like this year, seeing more people pivot from a completely different career path into games, but there's always some like ledge that can actually lead them into it as well, which is always fascinating.
That was the reason, kind of like what I wanted to focus the podcast on, was like looking at different parts of, I guess, game development from the point of view of level design, but which was my excuse that I can then interview anybody because there is some relationship to level design. But that's certainly like a very direct one. That was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
Valentina, any episodes that you enjoyed or events I mean, in this hell of a year?
I think my favorite one is the most obvious one, and it's the one that I hosted. That was the one with Peter Field.
Oh, right, yeah.
One of the reasons is because I had to prepare for it, and that was really nice, doing some research about Peter's background and the games he worked on. So that was one part. The second part is actually the content. The stuff that Peter has worked on is great, and being able to having the chance to talk to him and just find out a little bit more about his career was amazing. And I think the third part is because we talked about education and how can games help, I guess, younger people like show their creative side. It's a valid career, and for example, Dreams is a great game slash engine to work on, and that can teach you a lot of things and show you how games are made. And we had the chance to talk about all of that with Peter, and I think it has to be my favorite episode of 2020. Although I also did really enjoy the EGX Digital. We also had to.
That was the first time we were on video. Yeah, we were prepared. We were on video.
That was a lot of fun.
People
It
could
was a
see
different
us.
one. It was a different one, and I really enjoyed because of just how it was set up. We had to have lighting, and like you had to prepare in a specific
I had my
way.
makeup and my producer. And
When you say have lighting, that was involved me sticking paper plates to my ceiling with sticky tape to try, desperately trying to rearrange the stuff behind me so I didn't look like I was living in a shed.
But that was great.
I had to steal both the lamps that are like scattered around the
I
flat and just
remember
put them around my
that.
desk and hope for the best.
Wow.
Why do they have this image of your housemates being like stuck in darkness, going like, "What?
Just
Where did
holding the
Jonathan's
lamp.
taken all the light.
They understood. I needed it for the time being. It's fine.
Yeah, that is important.
So yeah, that was another great episode, because we was also part of EGX, and I guess maybe we would have had the chance to be there at the event, but we didn't. So being part of the digital event was a great opportunity, and it was really fun.
I think the important part about that was it's like we started at an EGX event. We'd been at EGX events since then, so it was nice to still be able to play a part in whatever presence they had this year. So taking part in that, I kind of kept that, I guess, consistency. So we do make an appearance at these shows, like regardless of what form they take going forward.
And thank you, Ash, for sorting that out. Ash did a lot of the lead work to do that and to make sure that we looked great.
That was a fun one, definitely a challenge, but it was just cool to be part of EGX Digital. It just felt like everyone really kind of banded together. Everyone just felt really close and like were working their hardest to get it done. Not that they don't work hard before, but EGX Digital just felt kind of special to me, I think.
It was a good episode. I mean, we can still view it on YouTube. We'll put a link in the show notes if you really want to relive that beautiful experience. And Rob, what was your best experience of the episodes this year?
Well, I'd say I just want to follow up on what Valentina and Jonathan both said. I think that in this year, when we couldn't go to develop, we couldn't go to any other conferences, we couldn't see all the friends that we wanted to. I think the podcast has been a bit of a lifeline to be able to keep that side of my brain going, and maybe all of our brains going. That kind of conversation that you only really have at a conference when you go to a really good talk or something like that, when you start thinking about stuff that is beyond the day-to-day, that helps you in the day-to-day. So yeah, I mean, that's been the best thing I think about all the podcasts we've done over the year. The Halloween episodes were probably my favorite. I love talking about horror games. We could probably do about 6 of those or more.
Yeah, I was going to say, did
Yes.
we? I still don't think we did 2 episodes. I still don't think we
No,
covered
no,
everything
no,
that we
definitely
wanted
not,
to cover.
I am
We
pretty
didn't.
sure we pressed stop on our recording on episode 1 and we had another hour worth of content of us just chatting. What people don't understand is like once we stop recording, the real talk starts, because we can start
it's
really
when the good
talking,
stuff comes out.
we can talk without watching what we say about certain things, but not just that. It's just it really is really interesting, and so hence we had to do another episode, right? We had to put some of that back, get that back in, get that out, get that content out there. But yeah, the Halloween episodes were really fun, and I love that we've been able to do so much stuff, especially around the Halloween one, like putting 2 episodes out, because I think it was really worth it. It was quite a lot of work, but it was like really worth getting some stuff out there for everyone. Having said like what happened this year, I know it's been interesting, but there have been some games that I wanted to highlight that I really enjoyed that came out this year, and or I played this year. Is that okay? Can I say games I played this year? Because
games are about play.
Like they don't have to have come out. I think most of these might have come out this year, and if I'm wrong, well, what, you want your money back. So first off, I've got to say that The Last of Us 2 broke me. I think I couldn't play a game for about a month afterwards, and I don't mean that I just enjoyed it. It's a deeply emotional experience, whichever way you want to go about it. I don't know. I get very much into this world, and afterwards I was like, I can't play like some game because it's just like, it's not serious, man. It's not like, but you know what it felt like, and I don't know if you guys agree. It felt like the last PlayStation 4 game. It was like such quality. And I played The Last of Us, the first Last of Us, on our friend's PlayStation 3 just before the PlayStation 4 came out, and then the Last of Us came out. The PlayStation 4 version came out, and it's one of the first few games I bought for the PlayStation 4 because finally I could play it by myself without having to go around my friend's house. And it feels like that. It feels like it's bookended a generation of a console. I can't wait to play again in the PlayStation 5 Ultra Glory, surreal, your eyeballs sizzle. Some of the games which I hope I can put here, which are not level designing one, is one that I really liked the look of, is the Solitaire Conspiracy by Mike Bithell, because it's got these beautiful drawings by Jen Patterson in them of the characters. And I don't know, it's just a solitaire. I say it's just a solitaire game. It's a very good kind of Bithell production game based around solitaire and that you're a secret agent. But it's really, really good. Have you guys played The Night Fisherman? It's a tiny little narrative game. I put a link in it in the description and we can talk about it, which is a series of games that were about a little bit about Brexit and about the consequences of Brexit. And that was really good. It was like so beautiful. And Death Stranding, I played it again. Sorry. And if I've been bringing it up all year, well, you should not be surprised that I'm bringing this up because it was the best walking simulator I've ever played. Sorry to Rob and the Chinese room, because you have really good experience. The inventors of the walking simulator. But and oh my God, Half-Life Alyx. Can we just say like how gorgeous that game looks? That's VR there.
I think you might be in the minority of people that have played that game as it's meant to be played. So I know it's amazing. I know that everyone rants about it, but it's a very specific platform you need to have access to get the full experience.
And I was really lucky, I have to say, to have been able to get, I can't remember what it is. I've got to look behind my monitor because I haven't used it for a little while, but a VR headset just before all of this happened. Right, because then afterwards everyone bought a VR headset, because if you're going to be stuck at home, you might as well, have a VR headset. But Jonathan, what did you think? What was your favorite games of the year? Did you have a chance to play any?
Despite developing games and like Rob mentioned before, like finding that like you work that little bit more because you always want to get that one extra thing done and it's hard to switch off. Similar to you, The Last of Us did have a profound impact on me when I played it in the middle of the year. Like I remember going through it and there was points I didn't want to play this game because I didn't want to see the events play out. I didn't necessarily agree with them. But once you get to the end, it kind of comes to the conclusion. I'm not going to go into spoilers here, but similar to you, it's like after finishing that game, I struggled to really get into it, like sink time into anything else. Like I got Ghost of Tsushima not too long after finishing it, and I still haven't finished that game, but it was just because I couldn't get traction with it. It just didn't feel the same, or I wasn't in the right mindset to play it.
I have the same issue with Ghost of Tsushima. I think it was like literally I got it like, oh great, I finished Last of Us, I can go to the Ghost, and it just didn't have the emotional weight, or I couldn't get into that journey, right? I mean, it had emotional weight. It's a gorgeous game, but I think I'm gonna have to play it next year as a
yeah. I went like just before the PS5 came out, I went back to it and I got much more traction in it then, much further removed from The Last of Us. But like, yeah, The Last of Us is definitely probably this, for most people, the standout title. Whether you love it, you hate it, you don't agree with it or anything, it made a statement when it came out. And like similar to what you said, they bookended a generation of console games. It's like I still don't understand how The Last of Us 2 looks as good as it does on my base PS4. Granted, it sounded like a jet engine when I played it, but it still looked amazing. But it does show that quality bar. And like Naughty Dog did it the previous generation with Uncharted. You had Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 3 to The Last of Us, and you saw that evolution. And like every generation you get that, and they did it again with The Last of Us on PS4. So I can't wait to see what the first thing on PS5 is, then what the last thing on PS5 is. I kind of hope it's something new. I don't want
Last of Us 3, right?
I don't want more Last of Us. I don't.
It's not gonna be The Last of Us anymore. There's so many people there. It's like all of us, not The Last of Us. Just all of us. We're live.
But kind of like outside of that, I've recently started playing the Pathless, which is quite a recently released game. But it's very different. It's a much more smaller scale game by comparison, done by a much smaller team. But it's super interesting to play. It kind of rekindled my love for puzzle design and how you can integrate puzzles into an open world game, which I'm interested to explore. I haven't finished it yet. But also boss design. There's 2 games at the end of this year that got me thinking about boss design in a different way, and that's Spider-Man Miles Morales, because that has some interesting boss encounters and puzzles, but also the Pathless also do it as well. So I think in future episodes, possibly covering stuff to do with puzzle and boss design, and even analyzing those 2 games could be an interesting feat. But if you haven't tried the Pathless, it's not a 200-hour open world game, which is nice.
Which I think, who's got the time for that, especially now that we have no time for anything else, right?
Yeah, it's a very different experience, and I'd highly recommend trying it out just to explore the world and experience the soundtrack. So
I'm kind of jealous that you got the PlayStation 5. Well, both whoever in this chat has got a PlayStation 5.
I also have PlayStation 5.
I know, because the PlayStation tells me all of you have PlayStation 5s.
Because
you
get
the little icon,
like vertical one,
and I'm going like, oh, screw you. But Rob, and we've talked about this. It's been you've been overworked.
I have, but I think also it's not that I've been working till midnight every night. I think it's more that it's been difficult to find headspace for games.
Definitely.
I know what I'm about to say is probably going to make absolutely no sense, because I actually started playing a game which takes up an awful lot of time and took up an awful lot of my time back in 2007 and again in around 2015 time, which was EVE Online, which I started playing again.
Oh wow!
So it's a very old game from our Icelandic friends at CCP, and it's been really interesting going back. And I think it's a good game, unlike the evil game that is World of Tanks that I also became addicted to a couple of years ago, which I think is a supremely evil game. I think it's a very good game, but it's also an evil game. Whereas EVE Online is full of very mostly pleasant people, and it really takes over your brain. And flying with thousands of people at a time in these battles is really still quite extraordinary. And I had my first EVE Online dream for a very long time last night, where I was in a fleet and everything was going wrong. It was quite scary. So it seems ironic to complain that I don't have any time and then play a game that takes up so much time. But there's something about it that when I look at my Steam list of shame, my mouse pointer just sort of drifts towards EVE instead. And even if I don't do much, it's so full of adrenaline and enjoyment that it's very different to my normal the kind of games that I'm making at the moment. So that
I had to go through my Steam library and kill off a few babies so I could have some space to install a certain project. Punk Cyber, and it was like shameful because it is the wall of shame.
Yeah, the other game I've been playing, which is very different from the games I'm making as well, is Civ 6. That's been an exceptionally well supported game. Some really, really good new mechanics that have been coming in, and that's always a great thing to play of a weekend.
How about you, Ash? What have you been playing? Well, obviously listening to our podcast, because that's all you have to do, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Gaming, my backlog is shameful.
Everyone's is.
I think this is the dirty thing. Everyone's is. I think
mine. No. I think I've set a new standard because no. Hitman 2 and Resident Evil 2 I bought last Christmas.
Okay.
And I think it was November when I realized that I actually owned Resident Evil 2. I forgot that I bought it.
Oh no!
And it keeps happening.
Did you do the thing of like, I'm about to go and buy it again, and says this is already in your library? Like,
I don't have to buy it or download it; it's already there.
Oh, no.
Surprisingly, Bloodborne is the game I've been playing the most.
Oh really?
This year, I've never been one for Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but yeah, completely hooked. Took about 6 hours to get into it, but yeah.
It's one of those, is it? I say that
Oh, yeah.
because I should, like
one of those.
Bloodborne and Dark Souls is like, you have to do this as a level designer. This apparently is a rite of passage, and I haven't played them, and I feel like imposter syndrome if
Yeah.
I haven't played them.
I think like 2015 it came out. Someone correct me. But yeah, I got it back then and played it for like 3 hours and then felt like throwing my controller against the wall because I felt like the game hated me.
Mhm.
And then I don't know, I picked up again, and yeah, I think I've seen a lot of people on my timeline on Twitter like have started to pick it up as well. I think it came out with Plus recently again or
Mhm.
something.
It was in the PlayStation Collection, I think, for PS5. It
Yeah.
was free.
So like those like very few games, so people had to get that right.
Yeah, it's just really good. Like, I think having one difficulty is just, I can't imagine it being any other way for the game. It's super rewarding when you do actually defeat something, even if you've done it like 20 times already. It's kind of just, yeah. I don't know if there's any Dark Souls or Bloodborne fans among us.
I played all of Bloodborne too, but I had a friend from Italy who helped me out with the bosses because he was expert on it. So I enjoyed it the way I intended, which was me doing the easy stuff and him taking the bullet for everything else. I completely do not like Dark Souls games because of the difficulty. I feel like, I don't know, the popular opinion, I cannot get into them. I die so easily. So, and then that reward at the end that you mentioned, I think it's completely like true. That's why they have that difficulty. But then by the time I get to that reward, I feel like I'm doing work and I'm doing that 8 hours a day. I'm not gonna do that while I play my games. I'm gonna just
You're not getting paid.
I'm not getting
for it.
paid to be like annoyed and then get rewarded. I'm playing to be just rewarded. That's just my opinion.
100% satisfaction.
That's fair,
for
that's
Valentina.
Yeah, but I do love the idea. Like Bloodborne was really good and it was fun, I guess, if you weren't like annoyed by it.
I've stayed away from the Soul game for the exact same reasons, but I did try the Demon Souls remake that they released on PS5, and as I was playing through it, I kind of get it. I get why people play it. I get why they like it. I get why they find it engaging and satisfying to do. Because yes, it's a pain to die over and over again, but when you do overcome it, you do get that satisfaction. You do get that reward, and also from a level design point of view, I now understand why people rant about it. At least in Demon Souls, I've not played anything else, but in Demon Souls specifically, just the way everything loops back around on each other, like that interested me because it changed how every time I went back to that area, how I would go to get my souls back where I died last time. But it's just like different approaches is very interesting. It's definitely an interesting game for sure. That just passed me by originally when it came out because of the reasons Valentina said. It's like, I don't want to be brutalized in the games I play. I want to enjoy them.
I feel like it's the first game where, like, some games you unlock shortcuts, so you don't obviously have to trek all the way back. I feel like it's the first game where I got a shortcut and it actually felt just super useful. Like, weirdly,
Right.
like it felt super rewarding. Like, oh, I don't have to go past this enemy anymore, or this horrible route. I can just go.
And probably that you earned it.
Yeah, you feel like, okay, I've actually deserved
Yeah.
this shortcut. It's not just handing it to
You
me.
discovered that
Yeah.
part, yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
And Valentina, so Dark Souls was your.
No, I haven't played that since I haven't played Bloodborne since it came out, and I'm not interested in Dark Souls because I don't like looking at knights' butts. So I prefer Bloodborne because it's like horror-esque, and that's the only reason I played it. The rest of the settings I'm not interested in, but yeah, I don't know. So for 2020, it's difficult because I don't think I have favorite games. The way I go rating my favorite games is if they had an emotional like impact for me. I don't think anything in 2020 had that like big impact. So I think I'm gonna break it down into what I really enjoyed instead. And from an indie perspective, I really have to give props to like Coffee Talk and Spiritfarer because they were very different and just very enjoyable, cozy games. Spiritfarer had amazing artwork and it was calm and very sad. So every time, if you don't know what it's about, it's basically some sort of management game. It's an easy management game though, where you're on a ship and you have to take care of stranded souls basically, and then take
Are
them
they
to
stranded souls? Are they dead?
yeah,
Stranded souls?
they're dead and they're on your ship and they live there and you have to take care of them and they all have their own journey and then you have to take them to the final gate where you let them go. And letting fictional characters go is way harder than you think it is. You because you get interested in them and you care about them, and that was a really good idea. It's sad because it's all about death basically, but at the same time it's beautiful. It's really nice, like the game itself and the themes it has. So like that was a really good indie game. When it came to AAA, I'm from a technical perspective, and I think as a production achievement, like The Last of Us 2 was definitely the top of my list. That Naughty Dog always produces games that look next gen, not current gen, and it even so far looks one of the best looking games, even from the ones that came out on PS5. So I really appreciate the level design and just the technical part of it. From I think maybe the favorite game that I played this year that didn't come out this year had to be Death Stranding, though, because I didn't get it last year when it came out in 2019. I don't think I had the time for it, or I wasn't as hyped for it anyway. But this year, someone influenced me. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a
We
shot.
have no,
I wonder
any
wonder
idea
who
who
that
that
was.
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was a good influence because really everything about it is so different and so strange, and then it works and it's rewarding in a way, because I do enjoy hiking and I do enjoy walking and I enjoy looking at vistas. So it was something that I enjoyed personally, but I can see how many other people won't like it.
I'm curious. So, like, you say you enjoyed the weirdness and stuff of it. Have you played other Kojima games? So, have you played like, the Metal Gear
No,
series? Okay.
not really.
Okay.
But even compared, I mean, I played a little bit of the other ones, but is how in this one they've gone into a mechanic and they're leaning full into it, and they've just gone like the extra mile and then a couple of miles more. And when someone said, "No, mate, you've gone a little bit too far," he's just thrown away the A to Z and just kept on going. And but that's not just story wise into the cutscene. This is like it ties into the whole mechanic. Sorry, and this is why Valentina started playing it, because I kept on going on. Like,
So yeah, what I enjoyed about it is, I mean, the story is, I don't care about the characters or whatever exactly the plot, but I care about the mythos and everything that he created is so strange. It's connected to ancient Egypt, it's connected to science, and it talks about reconnecting people with deliveries, which is kind of what we're experiencing in 2020. No one can see each other, and we're relying on Amazon Prime and we're relying on Royal Mail, and the people who deliver those things are kind of heroes, the invisible heroes, and the main character of the game does that. And the fact that you have to play all these little details that Hideo Kojima like thought of, like balancing yourself and what items do you carry, and all of that, it's kind of interesting. And I think that I like that the most. I think it's over the top, even with systems. It has a ton of systems, maybe some of them could be cut, but it's still a very interesting game to play. So that would be my favorite game, even though it came out in 2019. Although I do have another favorite game, and what Rob said makes sense, that he goes back to EVE Online is the same thing that I do, and I go back to Apex Legends. That came out, I think, last year too. And I've been playing it ever since, and I've been playing it this year, and it's sort of like the safety blanket, that the game that we go back to, because I mean, safety blanket in a first-person shooter game where it's a battle royale. It's not really. It's not.
no, but it makes sense.
It's like a tense multiplayer game, but it's what I'm used to and what okay at, and I'm familiar with it. And it was at a time where everything was fun, so I go back to it because I still feel that it still feels. It's a thing that I can just put on after work and not have to think about anything.
It's like putting on a favorite album, isn't it? Sometimes playing a game like that.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. So that's the ongoing title that they did. I guess ongoing, is that the right word?
Yeah.
It's a live system
Yeah.
game, so that's like you can favorite every year if you want.
We've been going back to Wildlands, like Ghost Recon Wildlands, with my friends. We still play it, and we found that they've been updating it, and we keep on going to places going like, did they do another release that they added new props? I mean, why would you? You've made a new game. Why would you restructure then, like add 20 new varieties of the insides of something? But hey, absolutely appreciated. We're still having fun. It's, as Valentina says, it's a safety blanket. It's something comfortable. It's something that I don't have to learn a new 50 different key combo that's completely different from normal things. God damn it.
Exactly, yeah.
Some games, I think you just have reflexes to, like you've played them so many times, you just, like for me it's Borderlands, like whether it's the first one, the second one, even the third one, which I've pretty much been looping this year. Just it's something like Valentine said, you can just sit down after work and you just don't think. Like even if it's a shooter, it's really relaxing because I know every map like the back of my hand, and yeah, it's just really comforting. I think, especially this year, that's kind of what we've needed. Is something comforting.
So I have a little bit of a weird one to that. It's weird to call it a safety blanket game, but it was the Resident Evil 2 remake is the game I've went back to the most over the last 2 years. And obviously,
Really?
yeah, and it's obviously it's tense, it's scary and stuff like that. But I think it's like Bridie said, you know it, right? You know the maps, you know the events, you know what's coming. But they get the atmosphere so right in that game. I can just play it and go through it, and obviously it still gets me a little bit, like I'm still on edge, but I don't jump as much. But it is that level of familiarity that keeps bringing me back. And also it's like a 6-hour experience. It's like I can do it in less than 6 hours, which is really nice. So
it's a couple of nights and you're done. I mean, I'm not judging. You can do it in one night. Going from there, I mean, these are the games that we played, but this is not just a game review podcast, and we wanted to touch on what we learned in this year. And I don't mean about that delivery guys are like the God's gift to our life and things like that, or delivery people. But so, from our techniques and stuff. I mean, I'll start off if you like, just to warm us up. Like one thing that happened this year through the podcast and through the people that have been on the podcast, I've actually started understanding more about the craft of level design rather than the art of it, just out of like how it should feel and what it should look, but more of the craft behind it through people like Yuliu Cosminonescu and Tommy Norberg, who have been doing like microblogging and blogging. Yuliu, who's been on the podcast, has actually been doing a lot of great medium blogs, and oh my god, it's blogging back. I started finding myself doing like what you'd call long reads, or what they used to call reading in the past, which was like just reading more about the way you actually do this, the thought process behind it, that there is a thought process. It isn't like, oh yeah, some other stuff that I've been recently learning a lot is more about shaders by a guy called Ben Clowood, who does a lot about Unreal shaders, and it's been amazing to actually learn a lot of the stuff that I always thought was black magic, right? It's like, if you look at the materials in Unreal Engine, it's just like there's a whole bunch of nodes. Who knows what's happening? And finally there's a material at the end. And for me, this year has been really eye-opening to learn how to be organized by someone called Valentina Chrysostomu, who joined us. And some of the work that Valentina has been doing at Command Studio has been absolutely amazing. And I've been learning a lot from Valentina, which is a big compliment to a host, but I'm pretending that they're not here. So
I can't pretend I'm not here, but no, thank you for the kind words.
Some other stuff for me has been software. So this year I wanted to learn more about Blender. So I've gotten a bit better at Blender. Meshroom, who I've been really enjoying stealing real 3D stuff from the park and taking it home by taking thousands of photographs and making 3D models and then making it appear in games that mega scans actually just do in like just 1 click or 2 clicks. But stuff like Substance Designer, which has been amazing to start learning a little bit, which is like Photoshop but with nodes. So you don't have to like do like a whole document about how to do a process. You can just show the nodes that join it all up. So that's the kind of stuff that I've been learning this year. How about you, Valentina? What's been I mean, now that I've praised you, you have to say something back about what you've learned from me or something like that. You don't have to,
but you have to, otherwise you're fired.
Wow.
I didn't say it. I did not say
that would be
it.
a hell of a way to end the podcast. Like, you're fired. That's it.
Just like the last word after the credits. Well, you're fired.
Yeah.
Like James Jameson in like Spider-Man, when he just shouts like to his assistant or something. I think I always struggle thinking back and thinking what I've learned unless it's something super obvious. So I'm gonna only talk about the super obvious things, and I apologize because I'm pretty sure I learned a lot of stuff this year. It's just that it's hard to think about. I think mainly technically I learned, even though I knew Unreal a little bit, now I feel very comfortable with it, and some ins and outs about blueprints and widgets and all those specific things, how to adjust project settings to make builds, and like all the little things that are required to actually make the game feel really a lot better, especially with blueprints, because I could have done the basic stuff, but now I just know exactly where to search things and find things, and it's been really great learning yet another engine, because we don't know enough of those already. So technically that one was really awesome, and I've only just started using Blender like this week, so I'll add that to the list. But I want to learn a little bit more of that, because it's proven really cool for blockouts instead of just using assets from Unreal. So I want to try using that a little bit more and look at the files in depth, because I don't think Unreal provides that kind of like detail. Mainly though, I think it's not really a technical thing, but I think I learned that I really enjoy working with teams, but from home instead of the office. I think that's my preferable way now of doing that, and it's okay to work remotely. And I know this year has been weird, but it's a lot more comfortable and a lot more flexible than being in an open space with 20 other people around you, no privacy, no anything. So I would definitely like to see the industry do something about that too, and maybe fixing some of the issues of normal workspaces. And definitely adjusting to working from home has been a great learning experience. And even though I've done it before, but not in this way, it's very different now.
There are levels, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm gonna work from home on Monday because I'm waiting for a delivery. To this is your new life.
Yeah, exactly. So I think learning to make games from home basically is it's been really great. One other thing I guess that I've learned is that I really enjoy writing blogs, and I've started a series called Thoughts, which want to put like a blog out every 1 or 2 months, because I don't want to push myself or anything.
Link in the description, right?
It's fine. You don't have
Like,
to like, subscribe, and follow. No, it's just something that helps me process my thoughts and ideas about a game. I don't sit down and break down specific like details about it. It's just what I feel about it and what I enjoy, whether it's level design or other aspects like that about the narrative. So it helps me like collect my thoughts in a way, and I just would like to release like one every 1 or 2 months of games that I really enjoy, because I don't want to like pressure myself and like, hey, just write something because you have to. I don't care about that. But it's been really enjoyable, and it's made me writing things down like in that sense in a blog has been really helpful, because I can easily remember them, and it helps me create something better next time myself. So if you're like, if you were thinking about doing that, about writing blogs, I think that's a great way to like learn from yourself and from other games, because writing things down is great.
It's amazing how much we forget.
Yeah.
It's like it's actually, I started doing a bit of I think called a Pomodoro technique, but at the end of every 25 minutes, it just asks you a simple question, which is like, what did you learn? Right? And it's like, I like in that moment, I learned this, and it's a stupid thing, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized at the end of the week, the amount of things that I'd learned in my job and in things I was doing, that if you ask me when I don't do that, I go, I did nothing. I don't know. I just like bashed away like a monkey on the keyboard.
That's why I kind of wanted to apologize, because I haven't been writing what I have learned, and I can't easily recall what I have learned. I'm pretty sure I have a lot of things. So actually writing blogs, it's a great idea. It's a good idea to keep your thoughts in one place and understand what you've learned. So it's I would suggest you do that if you also want to learn that way. I think that's about it for me. Yeah.
How about you, Jonathan?
It's been a very weird year, that's for sure. But yeah, in terms of learning stuff, it was just how to pivot, right? We all had to pivot where all our strengths we had from working in this, like me working in the studio, like you say, finishing the game this year, was going from, I could turn around to a designer and thrash out a problem with them just because I needed a sounding board, or I can help them do something. And it was finding ways to do that from home, because one thing I did, similar to what Valentina gets from her blog posts, having a conversation with another designer or just anyone else really, just to kind of talk through the process, improves your understanding of the problem you're trying to solve immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
But trying to establish like this concept of a open door policy when you're on Zoom and you're not like in the office or something like that, like to remain approachable and encourage people to ask you questions.
I've got to just say, like, I find it hilarious because to the people that I managed to say, I have an open door policy, and they join my Zoom room, and it says like the host is waiting to admit you. You know, it's like,
Nice.
oh, they said, I thought you had an open door. So like, well, apart from Zoom, because Zoom doesn't allow, I have to let you in.
No, because I found like originally, like some of the stuff I struggled with was, how do I get the same thought process or development process I had in the office? How do I recreate that from home? And it did turn into like long, like open channel Slack conversations, just so I could give someone feedback or they can talk through a problem. And I found when I helped them solve something, it helped me tenfold, and I would go away.
Rubber ducking, right? Isn't that what it's called? Rubber ducking?
Yeah, but also what I did also learn with that, it's like a double-edged sword, because that Slack notification or that Zoom notification will distract you when you're in the flow. So that's in the office, you put your headphones on and it's like a sign, like, okay, he's in the zone, don't disturb.
Yeah, but this is why you have to like close down Slack and Zoom and stuff like that for those. Just you have to have moments which are mine.
That was the point. That was the learning experience. It was carving out, I guess, quiet hours. It was like understanding when to do that. It's like actually having the quiet hours so I can focus on my task. As much as I want to help or enable other people to complete their work as much as I can, I still have tasks to do, right? I still have stuff to deliver, like on time and everything like that. And if I can't turn around to my producer and go, I was helping them do their work, like that's not how it works. So yeah, like I learned how to still remain open and tell people they can approach it, but also be kind of respectable of my own time a lot easier as well, which was hard in the beginning, but got a little bit easier. And then the other thing that is just, I've learned a lot about Hanger's internal pipelines and their tool set. So I've learned a lot more about visual scripting language. I've become much more, I'd say, technically minded this year because of some of the things I've had to do. And then like thinking of things I'm going to have to do going forward is very different from stuff I've done in the past, which is also, it's scary, but also an interesting challenge at the same time. Because usually we stand there and go, oh, I can't do that. But it's not you can't do it, it's you've never done it before, or you've never thought about something in that way. You possibly are already equipped to do the job. You just haven't tried to apply your knowledge in such a way before. And that's what 2020 has kind of done to me, working on new projects or working with new tools. I've been able to, like I said, basically pivot, take the knowledge I have and just apply it to this new tool or this new problem that I had to solve, which has been an interesting challenge. And obviously doing that from home where you can't always go to a more experienced developer or someone who's done it before. It's like trusting yourself that you can actually do this with the knowledge you have to produce something has been quite eye-opening.
I have to say something, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, is that I think as time goes on, because I'm old, you start realizing that once you've learned so many new things, you realize that there's a trick to learning a new thing. There's no trick, but it's just that
you can do it.
The trick is that you know that you're able to learn a new thing, right? Especially now with so many learning resources, whether it be YouTube or whether it be online documentation and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to be able to learn a new thing. So if you know that you're able to learn all those 20 other things, you know that you're able to learn 20 new other things. The bad side is that you forget every new one thing, you have to drop another bad thing.
So I agree with you on that point, but what do you do when you can't Google it, when you don't have an infinite resource?
Thing. Google is always there.
Have you worked with proprietary tools for big companies where they don't, yeah, exactly. You can't Google your problem.
No, in that case, like if you talk about technical stuff, yeah, I mean, you can always.
Then you have to go and kick someone, right? You have to go like, you built this, you tell me how to fix
it. Also can't do that. Also physically can't go and kick someone anymore.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, and also in real life, you can't do that neither. All right, let's just clarify this. There's no kicking in the office. I don't care.
That's good fun. It's fine.
There's a lot more kicking happening.
That's what happens when you want to release a game.
Yeah. Kicking happens to get it out the door. How about you, Ash? You've had a hell of a year.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I think just working and being alongside the community that we have, like through Blocktober, and I've learned so much about level design. I literally knew maybe 3 things at the beginning of this year. Where's it from you guys?
I think next year you're going to join the studio as a level designer because the amount of exposure that you're getting.
That's next career move, is level designer. But yeah, just like Blocktober was a lot of fun because we were getting people to share what they've built and created, and it was just kind of cool to see it kind of all unravel and how excited people were about it, especially in lockdown as well. I feel like people really obviously spent a lot
Got
more.
into it.
Yeah, people just really enjoyed it this time around, I think. And obviously, yeah. I don't know if you guys did any Blocktober stuff.
Not this year.
No.
I started. I had a really good idea for Blocktober, and then like life happened.
I mean, we did
And-
blogouts for our game, but they were just not released. I guess we did internal blogout.
We did an
Blocktober.
internal Blocktober, yeah. So we did a lot of blocking out. Actually,
You can
on
post that
October.
next year. It's fine. You can post that in next year's
Yeah.
Blocktober.
Right.
There you go.
I pretended pretend that we just did it. Like, yeah, look at this. We did
That's
it.
the point, though. There's no pretending. It's just a blockout is from something you worked on.
Yeah.
If it's never seen the light of day, it still counts. You can still post
Yeah,
it.
true. How about you, Rob? Anything you want to share with us that you learned this year, apart from, oh my God,
2020.
I think I want to amplify a bit what Jonathan and yourself were talking about, which has been on my mind. That I think that you don't realize you can do something, or things are very difficult until you've done them. I've done a lot of jobs in my life where I've felt out of my depth and felt like I wasn't doing a good job. And then looking back, I think, wow, that was really easy. I could have done that so easily. If I could just go back now and do that job, that would be such an easy job. I think that's a good sign.
I think it's a fear to do it, right? It's a fear of the
it
unknown.
is. It is also, I think it's a good thing to be a little out of your depth. I remember David Bowie talking about this and I'm sort of paraphrasing him here, is that when you are a little bit out of your depth, you do your most creative work. And I think that having that confidence when there is a lot that you're responsible for, and with the Chinese room being bigger than it used to be, certainly, and bigger than my indie company, and in team size terms, among the largest teams I've worked on, and being the lead designer on that team, there's a lot of responsibility there to have a lot of answers. And I've got the backup of Mr. Dan Pinchbeck, who is the creative director at the Chinese Room, and he always seems to have all the answers. But I think I've learned that it is sometimes okay not to have all the answers, and that you can satisfy people by saying, I don't have the answer to this, but how about we think about it in these terms? And to be able to talk with designers, like Jonathan said, it's such a valuable thing to be able to do, to talk through the problems that we each have, that we have to face every day to understand how to make games. And to help each other do that just by talking about it is something that has been harder at times this year in 2020. Sometimes it's been easier. Sometimes you've been forced to talk a lot because you have to formalize those kind of conversations, which used to happen sort of organically when you're sitting next to each other. So,
and you can point and grunt much easier when you're next to each other, rather than like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like Jonathan saying about having a whiteboard and things, it does make things so much easier. It makes things flow better. But I think that I'm looking forward to going back into an office, and I'm looking forward to gaining that fluency of development again. But at the same time, I'm glad of the things that we've learned over this year, and it's not been easy at times. It really, really has not been easy. So I think that I'm hoping that I can draw strength from that.
I mean, put it this way, this goes out to everyone out there. We've done all this work. A lot of people have had to work from home, but not just work from home. They've had to work from home during a pandemic, God damn it, which is very different from just working from home. I can tell you, I've been working from home for a long time, and this year has been very, very different to that. So if this is your first year doing it, this is not normal. As in this, the feelings of anxiety and everything else that you have is not a way to work. I know a lot of people have been going into it, but I'm looking forward to 2021 as well. I'm looking forward to stuff like travel, conferences, hopefully meeting the rest of my podcast hosts, because we've spent like all of this year going like, yeah, we're going to totally meet, we're going to do EGX, and it all closed down, right? We were following, we were like, I remember we were tracking whether Res was going to happen as Oh no, it's going to open. It's totally going to happen. Oh, we're going to move it a month. Oh
They
no,
fell like a house of cards,
Yeah,
didn't they?
exactly.
Each one every week is like, we're cancelled, we're cancelled, we're cancelled.
Yeah. So for 2021, I'm really looking for. There's a few things that are coming up, which I think the first one is Unreal Engine 5, and I know this is not really a techie podcast, but like infinite pixels, man, all the triangles, right? We don't have to. It has all the triangles. I'm really looking forward to that. I have no idea what the hell Blender's coming up in like next, but like they seem to be doing like amazing stuff that's really pushing the boundaries, like in every version. And I'm the only geek amongst all of us that's really excited for this. But you know, actual PlayStation 5 games, because no offense, but PlayStation 5 came with like one game, which is like Miles Morales, right?
Yeah. A couple of
but
games.
I'm looking.
A couple.
The Demon Souls remake.
Well, I'm looking forward to like the proper games, yeah, and being able to get a PlayStation 5. All right, this is hurting me.
I'm gonna edit that bit out in case we have any Demon Souls fans listening. Just disregard it entirely.
And finally, I'm actually looking forward to like Cyberpunk 2077 update that makes it look
playable,
good after they've all rested and playable. Yeah. How about you, Valentina? What are you looking forward to in 2021?
Mainly the pandemic to be over, but to be realistic, because that's not going to happen. In terms of games, I think I'm really looking forward to Resident Evil Village. I just want the game to come out right now because I really miss playing horror games. And that one looks like a combination of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil
Valentina,
4.
you know what we should do? We
Release
should
our
like finish our game, you know, and then get to play.
Yes, that's another thing. So I was gonna mention that later.
I mean, and finish it.
Simple as that.
Finish it and then release it.
And then play it, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of games, definitely that one and Little Nightmares 2 that comes out in February, which is another indie horror game. Oh god, now I'm just thinking of all horror games that I'm looking forward to. This is becoming a theme. But I think the main thing that I'm looking forward to is, like you said, we're working on our game and being able to release a demo of it and just putting all the final touches and making it look like an actual game and play and feel like a great game. So that is definitely, something that's definitely going to happen next year. So I don't know when, but it will. So that's definitely is going to be a great moment.
How about you, Jonathan?
I think in terms of games, I would like to hold out hope I get the second part of the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I don't think I'm going to see that for about another 5 years. So I think...
Yeah, that's really hopeful. That's like really like, look, I just got one, I want the next one.
But I'll just replay the first part, it's fine. But I'm really interested to see Horizon Forbidden West. I really enjoyed it when they released the original. It was a big surprise for a lot of people. Guerrilla had only did Killzone before this. I'm kind of interested to see how they expand on what they established. They did a lot of things well in the first one, but it's like, how do you grow that without it just being the same with more story and prettier graphics? Like, there needs to be some mechanical update in there. So I'm interested to see how they tackle that from that point of view. From a development standpoint, I kind of want to get back into some personal development stuff. Kind of fell by the wayside in 2020. Like, just trying to do my job was kind of hard enough. So trying to get back into that sort of stuff and see what's going on with all the tools. Like Unity has had loads of updates. I probably wouldn't even recognize that editor at this point, but also transfer the visual scripting knowledge I've learned and gained this year into using it in other editors, because I experimented with a couple this year and realized how transferable it all was. It's just a case of having time to actually dedicate to a small project to build something.
There is a lot of confluence in a lot of the tools. Like I noticed, I mean, I haven't been playing with Unity, and people are going to prove me wrong, but they've started doing a lot of node-based editing, and the fact that like you're doing this in Unreal, and then you move into Houdini, or you move into Substance Painter, and then you move into Unity, for example, and you've got like this kind of like the same metaphors and things like that. It's all very interesting. It's a different metaphor, but it's more interesting than like, hey, you just have to code and type. Be a typing monkey.
And I think that even visual-based things, they help you not be a coder. I don't think I could ever aspire to that, but when I first used Unity, I didn't have a clue really what I was doing. And then after using Unreal for a few years, I came back to Unity and I was like, oh, I can do this now because I understand how to put things together.
Yeah, because you understand the flow of the engine rather than fighting the syntax.
Exactly. I knew how to do things. It was like learning how languages work. I didn't know the vocabulary properly, but I knew how to put the sentences together after that.
I think with the introduction, because like you said, visual node-based graph editors are becoming the standard in everything from material creation, like textures, photos, like logic. It is becoming more standardized to where you don't have to code to do this anymore. You don't have to open up a script and type it all out. And it, problem solving wise, it's much easier to put a bunch of nodes together and see it actually execute in real time. And as designers, that's great because programmers may cry when it works and it's really expensive. It's like, you can clean it up, you can optimize it, but it's fun. It's fun, I promise. You just make it run nicely.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, as a very old programmer here, that's the UI to it, the code that spits out at the end. You can make it super performant because the machine is making it performant, not some guy, right? It's like you know what's going in and you can make it performant. Sorry to get my techie hat on, I'll remove it right now, but like it means that the more expensive part of the machine, which is a human, is actually much more performant in the sense that they're able to do more. You're able to get more of these people creating stuff as it should be.
Although using a visual tool doesn't make you a scripter.
No.
Like if you don't know how to think in logic and how things work, what is start, what is end, what if then, what about edge cases? If you don't have that knowledge, whether you use
but I can get a designer to do a lot of the work that I would have had to get a programmer to do beforehand.
Oh yeah. I mean, as a designer, you still have to know that you still have to be a bit part scripter, whether you use a visual tool or not, because the logic is just visualized. That's the difference. It's just an easier learning curve, but you're still a scripter at the end of the day. It's just a different tool that you use. And if you can't think programmatic, I don't know what's the word for it, and you're also gonna struggle with that too. What is a timer? What is a tick? What is an update? What is I don't know, cleanup at the end? Those things you still have to know that it's like a block, or whether it's lines of code.
It's the mark of a good programmer who can sit down with you and you talk with them, and you'll start saying, "Oh, I think you should do like this and this and this and this," and they'll say, "Hang on, just wait, calm down. What do you want to actually do?" And then you'll say, "Well, I want this to happen," and they'll say, "Oh, well, you should do it this way. If you do it this way, then when you come 2 months down the line and reach this obstacle, which I've already foreseen, you'll be able to get through it really easily just by doing it this way." And what a lovely thing that is to have a really good programmer who can be that architect.
And once you get used to it with visual tools, the learning curve is just a bit easier and faster, so you can learn all that logic and everything and then jump into proper code, if that's what we want to call it.
How about you, Rob? What were you looking for apart from sitting with me and me explaining code to you for?
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I think that I'm really looking forward to working on the projects that we're working on at the Chinese Room. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the dark days of winter being over and having the spring again.
Oh God.
I feel like there's a kind of sunrise on the horizon just somewhere that hope that there'll be, these dark days will end. And also this recording this episode has thrown it into stark relief a bit. Play more games and try and rest the Xbox and the TV away from my family and be able to play some more of the games that I've got waiting for me.
Because we don't want to be recording like retrospective 2021.
Oh, no, that'd be so
Rob,
embarrassing.
what did you play? Nothing.
Well,
Eve Online.
Again.
No. Terrible.
I mean, we're not judging you. You make the most amazing games, so like you can keep on doing it. You'll probably be releasing a game next year. And by the way, he probably isn't. I have no inside information.
No.
Terms and conditions apply. But I'm just saying, it's like you're probably going to be busy. But I just say, take some time, enjoy the craft that you're doing.
Absolutely.
To interfere, sorry, I completely forgot. I'm also looking forward to talking a lot more interesting people that we'll have on the list.
Yes.
On the podcast.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't even cross my mind. But yes, like there's so many things that we want to talk about. And the thing is, like, what they don't know is we know who's coming up next, right? And we got some awesome shows.
True.
So keep subscribed. You know what I'm saying? So it's my job to promote this, right? So like, let's promote it. No, honestly,
true,
like
it's
next
true.
year we have some great plans for the next season of the level design. If we couldn't call it seasons, we call it seasons kind of internally, just because we divided up between the 4 million episodes we did this year and the previous 4 million episodes, give or take, we did last year. And yeah, next year is I'm really looking forward to next year. We've got some amazing people coming on, right? I mean, honestly, I'm really excited because there's some people we're going to talk to that hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get to talk to them. It's going to be really amazing. So that's my promotion bit, but it's also the fact that I'm really quite excited about the podcast.
Yes, close parentheses.
Yeah. How about you, Ash? I mean, you know, like how the sausage is made around here, and you know who's coming on the podcast. But what are you looking forward to in 2021?
I think just hopefully lockdown pandemic being over. I think that's all I'm wishing for right now.
That's going to be the big pressure relief for everyone, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I feel like it's really
being able to see people.
Yeah,
again.
I think just being outside more often, even though for like an introvert, I feel like I just want to actually go places and holidays and events, because
holidays.
EGX and stuff was like, yeah, I just want to go somewhere. I want to travel, and somewhere that's not London. That's all I've done this year. I mean, I moved from the north to London, and that's been it. That's
I've got a suggestion. You should get Watch Dogs Legion. You can play around London if you want to travel around.
I can virtually see London.
You know, we need more VR games, really. Like this year, to VR to get cheaper and to like get more free games from PlayStation for VR, and then we will all be happy.
Yep.
Free games, more free games,
Yeah,
more free.
More VR free games, so we get to like experience those.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we shall all go out in our VR headsets, bumping into each other into the streets next year. This has been retrospective of 2020. Hopefully, the retrospective of 2021 is going to have a lot more positive news, and we shall all be out. And you'll hopefully come to see us at a conference. And of course, until then, you're able to email us at show@leveldesign.fm. You can tweet us at leveldesignfm, and let us know what you think. If there is people that you want us to talk to, if you have a great idea that we should totally know, get in contact. Why not? What do you have to lose? All we can do is just ignore your email and ghost you. And on that note,
wow.
Is that how we're ending 2020?
Well, it's better than murder.
A year of low expectations ends with low expectations.
I mean, I'm trying to tell her like it is. Okay.
It's been great.
No, but seriously, honestly, get in contact. It's been an amazing year, despite everything. Next year is going to be even more amazing. Thank you for following us. Thank you for listening to us. And until the next time, Happy New Year and bye.
Bye.
The Level Design Podcast has been a Command Studio production. Our editor is Matthew Lever, and this episode has been produced by Bridie Rose.